Hello and welcome back here at feelingTERrific. Today is another day of an interesting episode. I have a special guest because he's working in an environment that is quite a hot topic nowadays. But I don't want to take it all away up front. Over to you, Andreas. Who are you? Let us know.
Hi, Christian. Thanks for having me. Who I am? First of all, I'm a human being, and I would describe myself as an entrepreneur. And what all my companies so far had in common that my main goal is to have an impact, a positive impact on society. This is what I'm very passionate about, to solve the biggest challenges that we have. So I was having a company focusing on tech a lot. So we created one of the biggest startup communities in Europe. And now I am focusing on the climate topic.
Yeah. How I'm wondering, when somebody starts a company, right? Usually, what they're thinking about, okay, what makes sense? Where's the motivation coming from for XYZ topic, right? What was the motivation for you to go into the climate environment?
So I was following the developments in the recent years, and I saw that I also grew up on a farm. And there I see that the forest is facing huge challenges and huge stress at the moment, or also starting a couple of years ago. And that brought me to the topic to dig deeper here. But in the end, it were my two kids that are my main motivation, or not just my two kids, but our future generation, because I was thinking, what world will they be living in when they are at the age of 30? And when you look at the numbers at the moment, it's really quite horrific what we see here. And they will have, I would say, a completely different life than we have at the moment. They will not be able to experience many things that we are still able to experience now. For example, skiing. I went skiing with my daughter a couple of days ago, and there was just these white lines, and next to them, everything was green or brown. And I was talking to the people there when we went up with the gondola, and they were from the region there. And almost everyone said they have never experienced something like that. And everyone is feeling that the change is happening. And my motivation was that I see a good way to get out of this crisis. And this is what I want to bring into the world, to solve or probably not solve, because we are already in a situation where, it's challenging to solve it, but to slow it down at least, to preserve the nature, part of the nature that we have, and the beauty of the nature.
That's a great goal. And I mean, as you mentioned, right, solving is can be quite relative as we are already in it. But furthermore, it takes, for example, not just one company, right? It takes everyone. But what you're doing with your team is quite impressive. So thank you for that. I'm wondering, what's the role of emotions in all of that, right? I mean, nowadays, especially here in Germany, quite interesting when you talk to people per se, right? But also maybe prospects. I mean, you are dealing with companies most of the time. Correct me if I'm wrong. What's the role of emotions? How are you talking to them? How are you reaching them?
Yeah, emotions are always a very good sales argument on the one hand. On the other hand, you really need to be careful what kind of emotions you create. Because, for example, fear is also a very strong emotion, but probably not the right one for this topic, because it's getting to these extreme positions that we have right now. So the ones that say we need to change everything right now, and the other ones saying we need to we don't need to do anything because it's happened in the past, and this is all normal what's happening right now. So I think the emotion that I'm trying to create is hope and curiosity, and the motivation to be part of something bigger, where you always say you can't take your money to the grave. So you could think about how people will think when you're gone, and this is the only thing that is left from you when you're gone. And I think we should be very careful about this thought, what next generation will think about us when we are not here anymore. And I think more and more people want to become part of the solution, and they want to do something against it. And also more and more people are recognizing that it's really happening. As I just mentioned, the example on the gondola with the ski resort that I was in. We want to give these people hope and motivation and curiosity how they can become part of the solution.
Yeah. It also sounds quite empowering, right? So that you want to also empower the people to be self-reflective in a way, so that they can maybe develop their intrinsic motivation to do different things, right? Great point. When it comes to maybe have a different perspective, right? So when it comes to your entrepreneurial background, right? Also the topic that you started, Glacier. I mean, you are with Glacier Glacier is there for a longer time now, right? How would you describe the evolution from Glacier? I mean, when you think about how it started, where are you now? And also when it comes to the impact you have with Glacier, is it like you expected it to be? Is it different? And how is that? Or why is that?
Yeah, interestingly, when I started, I was not an expert on sustainability. Now I learned a lot in the last couple of months, but we wanted to focus in the beginning on calculating the carbon footprint. So we created a carbon footprint calculator, but we soon found out that calculating the footprint is not a big thing. It's the calculation per se is a bigger Excel sheet. What the challenge is to get the data, calculate the footprint, and to manage that. There was one big thing missing in most of the corporates that we talked to, and that was knowledge. Because to collect the data, you need to have the knowledge on what are emissions, what is causing emissions, what are scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions. And we soon found out in the conversations that calculating the footprint is not the challenge, but really the challenge is that there is a lack of knowledge. Everyone is talking about climate, but so few really have a clue what is happening in our atmosphere, what is causing that it's getting warmer. And then we said, you know what, this is probably the biggest challenge that we have, that people are not educated and they don't know. And there's this beautiful saying, so not everyone needs to become an expert. So there's this saying, we don't need a handful of people doing carbon reduction perfectly. We need millions of people doing it imperfectly. And we said, what we also figured out that there is a huge pressure on companies to also become part of the solution. And the pressure is coming from different sides, from the legislation side, so that we have stricter laws, but interestingly, more and more also from the client side and also from the employee side. Yeah. Also here, people want to become part of the solution. They want to work for a company where they spend a lot of their time that they are awake. They want to work for a company that is doing something good for this planet. And all of this, so the lack of knowledge, but on the other hand, this pressure on companies, and then also the motivation from the people that they want to become part of the solution, brought us to the topic that we need to educate people. And this is exactly what we do with Glacier. We are upskilling and activating and empowering employees. Very broad, not just in the sustainability department, very broad, and I will come to that, why we do that in a second. we empower and educate them. And so far we have empowered and educated more than 150,000 employees in over 200 companies. And this is only the beginning. Our mission is to empower 100 million employees. And with this, we will have a huge impact on our planet and also on our climate. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very impressive. But by the numbers, also, right? Fingers crossed for 100 million. Hopefully, rather sooner than later. Maybe from a different perspective. I mean, you started Glacier with a different aim, with a different portfolio, kind of, and then you adapted, right? Or you evolved. How was that for you from a mental perspective as an entrepreneur to see, okay, the original idea I had wasn't working or wasn't what the market needed, or it's not having the impact that I wanted it to have, and then you adapted, right? So how was that for you mentally?
Actually, I'm quite used to that, and actually, this is a very normal process. In my previous company, I was, as I said already, creating one of the biggest startup networks, and I think I learned a lot about startups and what makes them successful. And one of the most important things is what I saw is that you need to talk to your clients and you need to adapt to the needs on the market. I know so many companies that failed because they were sitting in their office for months working on the idea that they thought is amazing. And then they went out on the market and no one really cared because they didn't get the feedback from out there. And this is also something that we in our process. So as I said, we started with the carbon footprint calculator, but and I would also say that would have been a business. And there are a lot of, I think when we started, 300 carbon footprint calculators started in parallel in Europe in that year. So a lot of startups focusing on that. But what we figured out, we want to solve a problem, a real problem, and not just a business problem, but also, as I said, an impact that we want to leave or have with our company. And there we added 1+1 and found out that we need to focus on education because that will be the bigger, there we can have the bigger impact. Because what we also see in our education formats, they are mainly focused on the company environment. So what you can do in your office, where do you get the energy from, what do you do about mobility? But in the end, 90% of the participants in our courses say that they also take the knowledge home and they can use it in their private life, because a lot of things are obviously overlapping. So on the one hand, we are helping companies to get more sustainable, but on the other hand, we are also educating people what they eat at home, what car they are driving, what energy they are consuming, where is the energy coming from, etc. And this is where we thought, oh my God, with this, if we reach this 100 million, we will have a huge impact on companies, but also on private individuals. Because what we also see, people take our courses, then they go home, and all the conversations that you have over dinner or with your family over Christmas. Climate is in so many cases a topic, and then you really have more knowledge, and you can share that. You can share what things you can do, etc. And this is what brought us to the point to say we want to educate the people.
Yeah. Let me ask you that, Andreas. What means Glacier to you?
I want to spend my time working on having an impact on our planet, and Glacier gives me the opportunity to do that. Yeah. So of course I could also do other jobs, but as I already said, you spend a lot of time in the office working, and I just want to use this time wisely, in touch with my values, so to say, and therefore Glacier is the best place for me to be at the moment, because it just gives me so much motivation to see the motivation that we create within companies, the activation that we create, the feedback we get from our customers, but also from our users that use our education formats. And this is motivating me every day to go to the office and to make Glacier bigger, better, to improve our courses, to expand our community, etc. So in the end, it's a very good tool to work on my life goals.
Yeah. No, that's really great, and I would like to add on what you just mentioned, right? So improving, getting bigger, better, etc. Obviously, I mean, yeah, obviously, it takes a village for that, right? So you need to have a great team around you. As you know, I have a recruiter background, and I'm wondering, when it comes to recruitment, to hire new colleagues, right? How I mean, is there a special thing, for example, like purpose, like intrinsic motivation for the climate, etc.? Is that something you're also assessing? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think this is you mean assessing in the interviews that we have if the people are truly, truly behind the topic, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yes, that's definitely something. But I also would say I think so. I need to elaborate a little bit on that. What's amazing with us, so many companies are looking for talent. When we open a position, we get for one position. Recently, we got 120 applications, which is also a challenge. But for most of the people, the motivation is anyway to work for a company that is part of the solution, or even helping others to do more. So I think this is already a important layer in filtering the motivation. But then we have a 3-stage, or in some cases even 4-stage interview process, where I would say it's more the team fit that we focus on. Of course, we also ask the question on sustainability, but it's more the team fit. And for the team fit, it's just a necessity that you really care about the topic, because I would really say everyone in our company is caring big time about the topic. We have our own climate action policy, probably one of the strictest climate action policies that is out there. And probably this is the most important layer in the interview process, that every candidate is talking to several people in our company. And with team fit, I would also say it's a purpose fit that we find out here.
Yeah. I mean, talking from experience, getting 120 applicants, that's quite can be a challenge, and therefore it's quite impressive, right? Maybe let us go to our last kind of topic, right? So mindfulness. So when we talked prior to this conversation, you also mentioned it, and it's a really important topic, right? Wondering, how are you, maybe first of all, what does mindfulness mean to you, and how are you practicing it? I mean, I just can assume that the role you have is, I mean, not just the role, but the role, the family, life per se, whatever it is, right? How are you making sure that you're being mindful?
So one of my life goals is that every year I want to be 1% more in the moment. And this is also, when I talk about mindfulness, this is probably the answer. What mindfulness is for me, to be in the moment. Because what I found out is there is only one time when life is happening, and this is right now. It's not in the past and it's not in the future. But we spend so much time thinking about the future, thinking about the past. And for me, one of the also biggest challenges, but also biggest enjoyments, is being in the moment and experience this I give you an example, probably with my kids. You come home from a long working day, then your kids are at home, they're waiting for you. And what you could do now, you could further think about the day or the next day, or you really focus on the moment and be present for the kids. And it's just so different when you do that, when you see how you interact with the kids and how they enjoy it, especially with babies. It's so interesting. They are all of the time, they are in the moment. They are just here. They are staring at you. They are interested. They are curious. They are finding out new things that they learn. And this is the most important thing that you can give to your kids is time and the presence that you have. And when you do that, you get so much back from them. And this is just one example for everything. If you go, for example, I also have a dog. What I also do, what is my mindful practice in the morning, is to walk the dog, but I don't take my phone with me. And then I'm just going into the forest and looking at the trees, seeing the beauty of nature, and this brings you in the moment. And this is where you should spend most of your time, because if you don't, your life will be pretty boring, or not boring, but not usefully. It won't be a useful life, I would say.
Yeah. So that's a very good point. And I'm glad that you have, I mean, it's also interesting to see that you have different routes, right, when it comes to mindfulness and being in the moment, being present. Another part of being mindful and mindfulness per se, I would say, is also making sure that you are not burning out, right? I mean, once it comes to that, then you can't be mindful, right? How are you making sure? I mean, you scratched it already a little bit, but how are you making sure that your mental side, that you are mentally not getting overwhelmed? Do you have any practice with that, or how are you making sure that this isn't going to happen?
Yeah, I think this is when you look at society nowadays, this is also a big topic, and something where we need to get better. So, for example, what we do every week, we have a breathing exercise in our company before we start our weekly meeting, and this is also one of the easiest way to prevent stress is to take a deep breath, focus on your breath, which also brings you in the moment. And when you are conscious about that, this is already a very good way to prevent stress, or to reduce the stress level that you have, is breathing. And another thing that I do a lot is taking walks. I have a lot of walking meetings in my company with my team. Walking and breathing, and then focus on the moment. These are the three things that I practice the most.
Yeah, walking meetings. I think this is something I could elaborate as well, especially with the new office we have within Service now. No,
I saw
perfect.
the pictures. It looks amazing. I can't wait to visit you there.
Yeah, I will be there. Just let me know. The coffee is also quite good.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect. We are almost at the end of our conversation, Andreas. What we have here as well is that the previous guest asked a question for the next one, and therefore I would like to ask you the question now, if you don't mind.
So I'm asking the question to the next interview that you do.
Yeah, but prior to that, you are due to answer the question from the previous guest.
Okay, perfect. Let's go.
All right.
I like that.
Yes. So the question is, what was a pivotal or game-changing point in your career?
Yeah, I would come back to what we already talked about today, and it is really to focus on the moment and to spend most of your time in the moment. And why is that? Because here you creativity is not happening in the past or in the future. It's happening right now, and the more time you spend in the moment, also the better. And I 100% believe in that. Will be the outcome of what you're working on. We may way more creative. Also in client meetings, if you're there, if you're focused, everything gets easier. And for me, learning that, and I also have to say that I'm not able to practice it every moment and every day, but to learn that made my life way easier and better.
Yeah. No, thank you for your answer and for your perspective. Maybe let me add on that. Wondering, I mean, for example, on YouTube, there are a lot of videos, tips and tricks, how to be mindful, etc. Right? And what I heard also from friends and so on is that when they watch, for example, but also for me, right? So, for example, when I watch it or when they watch it, and they are not being able to keep it for 30 days or whatsoever, right? So what I mean is it can be quite overwhelming. How was it for you? Was it for you also an adventure? When did you start it? When did you start to be more mindful? Is it hard practice? Is it coming natural to you? How's that?
It was a process. The first encounter I had was a couple of years ago when I read the book of Deepak Chopra, which is an awesome author, next to Eckhart Tolle, for example. So I think reading one of those. So who is interested to dig deeper here, I would really recommend the book from Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. Is amazing. I think I've read the book 5 times now. And in the end, then it's really a process. But what was a game changer for me was coaching. So I did coaching with Peter Hackmeyer, who is an awesome coach, from whom I learned so much. But he helped me to learn from myself because he's asking really good questions. And what we now have together with him is an impact leader club. So he's giving coaching, but on the other hand, we are a group of 10 to 15 people, and we meet regularly. And I would say he has a very good way to choose the people that are in this group. And we help ourselves, we challenge ourselves, because I think for that topic, it's also important that you have an surrounding or environment, people that you can talk about that. And there are not so many out there that you can talk about that. But in this Impact Leader Club, we have exactly that. So we give us feedback, we talk about everything, we call it radically honesty. So it's really an environment where you can be radically honest and talk about things. But just like doing exactly that, being radically honest helps you to dig deeper and to learn about yourself and to then solve the challenges that you have. So one thing is reading books, and the other thing is coaching, and the third thing is having a community. I would say it's a community of people that you can be radically honest with and that are radically honest to you, without getting too emotional then, because everyone in this group just wants the best for himself or herself and for you. And this is why you appreciate the feedback and can take it easily. But with this, you make tremendous developments. And yeah, these are the 3 things that brought me there.
Yeah, no, really great points. And I try to adapt. No, perfect. Thank you, Andreas. Now over to you. Up to you now for answering or ask the question for the next guest. What question would you like to ask?
Actually, I want to copy a question that I know from another podcast that I very much enjoy. It's from Ali Malocci, and he always asks the question at the end: if you would have a microphone And with this microphone, you could reach every person on this planet. What would you say? What would you ask?
That's a good question. I'm curious about the answer of the next guest to this one. But thank you, Andreas. We are at the end of our conversation. Really enjoyed it. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. But over to you for the last words.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I think as you recognize, I love to talk about the topic. And one last thought that I would like to share. I'm working on climate, but I see climate only as as a symptom of a bigger problem. And once a friend of mine said to me, the world outside looks the way as it looks inside. And this is why it's so important to also focus on the inside. And for that, the present moment is the most important thing.
We leave it like that. Thank you, Andreas. Hope to see you soon.
Christian, thank you very much for having me.